Same old, same old. Here we go. We had stories like this going back 10 plus years, and I've covered them, and boy, do the feminists get angry at me. American women are giving up on marriage. Now, this story is from a couple months ago, but again, it is the same narrative we hear over and over again. Career-driven women with high salaries are shocked to find men don't want to be with them, and thus they say they'd rather be single, they'd rather give up on marriage. This is a social dysfunction. I don't care largely what people do with their own lives because you got one life to live, baby. But I will tell you, the structure of society that is promoting this system will destroy itself. So by all means, party, work hard, do whatever you want. And then when you don't have babies and there is no future generation, don't be surprised when the markets start collapsing. This, my friends, is behavioral sink. I can sit here all day and say, live your life, do whatever you want, I guess. But the reality is that's a destructive statement. So what I would say is to those of little moral repute who care not for the future, but only for themselves, you are free to do what you want. To those who have deep concerns over the future, this is dangerous and destructive. Here's the Wall Street Journal. They say after a handful of underwhelming relationships and dozens of disappointing first dates, Andrea Vorlasek recently called off the search for a husband. The 29-year-old always thought she'd have found her life partner by now. Instead, she's house hunting solo and considering having kids on her own, which, as everybody knows, and all the data points to, those kids will be very, very bad off. You got to have two parents. She says, I'm financially self-sufficient enough to do these things myself, said Vorlasek, a Boston-based accountant. I'm willing to accept being single versus settling for someone who isn't the right fit. She sees her plans for an independent future as making the best of a lousy situation. I don't want to sit here and say I'm 100% happy, but I feel happier just accepting my reality. It's mentally and emotionally a sense of peace. American women have never been this resigned to staying single. They're responding to major demographic shifts, including huge growing gender gaps in economic and educational attainment, political affiliation, and beliefs about what a family should look like. The numbers aren't netting out, said Daniel Cox, director of the Survey Center at American Enterprise Institute, conservative think tank. He ticked off the data points: more women than men attending college, buying houses, and focusing on their friendships and careers over dating and marriage. And I'm going to tell you why. Men don't care largely because men can survive. They're independent. They don't need collectives as much, and they can have kids when they're 80. Women can't. So women are pursuing masculine roles, resigning themselves to being single, and men are just like, I'll figure it out. But I'll tell you what it comes down to. And the feminists can whinge all they want, and the liberals can cry and bang on the table all they want. I literally don't care. Okay? Guys, listen, clip the segment. I don't care. You're wrong, okay? Men tend not to want to date women who make as much or more money than them. And it's not an issue of men are scared of powerful men. I'd say maybe there's a little bit of fear in that a woman who doesn't need the man can eventually just leave and have them holding an empty bag, right? So for guys, they're looking for partners in life. I don't like the term partner. They're looking for partners in life, a spouse, a mother who wants to focus on having a family. If you're a dude, you already have dude friends. So if you want to hang out with someone and talk about, I don't know, like TPS reports and the latest, sales quarterly report, you got your boys for that. Now, by all means, a lot of guys are going to be friends with women, and they're going to talk about these things, and they're going to laugh and smile. And these women are going to be like, I don't understand why these guys don't want to commit. And it's just like, this is the problem. Because I can say it a million times. Their tendency is not absolute, but the feminists and the liberals reject it. And they say, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. Well, I tell you this. It's society. It's everybody else. That's the message you should be taking away. Because I made this point several years ago. The point was that society allows for men to be bachelors into their 30 without any repercussions. So basically what I said was, I can't believe that I'm still single at 34 And it's not me, it's everybody else, right? Perhaps I could have worded it better, but the greater context of the conversation was, because I'm married with a kid now, the greater context of the conversation is, how is that socially acceptable for me to be a wealthy bachelor? For so many young men to be in that position. Now, a lot of young men aren't wealthy bachelors. They're hikikomori bachelors living in their basements. But I'm saying, for me, here I am, traveled the world, millions of followers, massive shows on YouTube, tons of money, and society does not care. There's no enforced monogamy, as it's referred to. And that is not that the government comes and forces women to marry incels. It means society has no negative pressure on men who are single and successful and doing whatever they want. Less on women, like same thing for women now, but women have a biological clock. So here's the reality. Men want someone who's going to focus on having a family. Men want to marry a woman, and this is a tendency, who's going to be like, look, I don't care about profit margins and TPS reports. I want babies. I want to have a family. I want to be a mom. I want to raise kids. And the guy says, that's perfect because I want to succeed and I want to work hard. So the issue should be, it's going to be bimodal. A mother will do some work. This is always the way it's been. Mom would go gathering and she'd have babies, but she largely focused on babies. The men would go scouting and hunting and finding things and foraging, but they would also help sometimes with the babies. But it's like 80-20, 20-80. So for guys who are meeting women who are like, I'm a career woman who makes six figures and I'm going to get the promotion, he's going to be like, okay, you're a guy. You know, I'm not, that's fine, but I'm not looking to marry another guy. I want a mom. I want someone whose passion is to be a mom. Imagine, it's like hiring almost, you know? These are contracts. Imagine hiring someone, you're like, I need someone who wants to be an accountant. And they go, I'm a trained accountant, but I really don't want to do that. And I'm focusing more so on graphic design. You'd say, okay, well, I want to find someone who likes being an accountant. Well, that's wrong. You should hire me. No. And so these women are shocked. But the real challenge is, guys can have kids when they're 80. I mean, not like they're gonna, to be honest, but there might be some guy who's like, well, I'm worth $2 million and I'm 80 years old. And he goes to some young woman and she's like, that money makes you attractive. And then they jump in a car and drive off. It's a Family Guy joke. They want to say, stories of women complaining about the lack of quality men have long infused pop culture from Pride and Prejudice to Taylor Swift's Ugh. I can't pronounce that. Yet women throughout, it's Taylor Swift's song or whatever, throughout history rarely questioned whether finding and securing a romantic partner should be a primary goal of adulthood. It seems to be changing. Over half of single women said they believed they were happier than their married counterparts. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it's like, I don't know if this analogy would work for the average person, but it's like playing a video game where you have like, what's a good example of this? There are video games where you have to choose a specialty, and it's like an RPG, you get to level 10, and then it's like, choose your specialty, and you could be like a ninja or a knight or something. This is like permanently staying as a baby, as a toddler, and never growing up and choosing your role in society. Being like, you know what? I'll just never grow up. I'll never do it. Okay. Now, I don't blame women for this. I blame society. Snowflake doesn't blame itself for the avalanche. Women are being told to be girl bosses. This is resulting in men who don't need to strive because women make money. And so you get these weak, effeminate dudes, and they're like, why should I have to do anything? Actually, Seamus Coughlin of Freedom Tunes has a really great bit about this that he recently put up, where it's male feminists sitting around being like, it's so sexist when I say I want to be a stay-at-home dad and women make fun of me for it. Like, I just want to lay around all day. I don't have to go to work. That's when women say that's unattractive, they're being sexist. The point he's making basically is if a woman says she wants to be the CEO and you tell her you don't want that, you don't want to marry that, you're looked down upon. Well, there you go. They say for young women especially who tout their boy sober and off the market status on TikTok and other social media, the focus has shifted towards self-improvement, friendship, and the ability to find happiness on their own. Surveys show a decline in teenage relationships, and Gen Z is having less sex than previous generations, according to data from the CDC. Here's the thing. Let me tell you guys. There was this funny story where a female scientist in Antarctica demanded they install outhouses in like various outposts because the guys could unzip and just let her rip. and the women couldn't do it. And she was like, it's sexist that I can't go to the bathroom in Antarctica on at an outpost. Like literally not even a shelter. They go out to a location where they have like scientific tools and stuff and do tests. And the guys are like, I gotta pee. And they just go. She's like, well, what about me? And they're like, you can do whatever you want. You can let her rip. Well, she can't. She has to take her pants down. It's too cold. It's like super freezing. And therein lies the crisis. Men and women are different. They can do different things. The reason I bring that up is for the average guy, they're like, I can focus on my goals, whatever it may be, and my dopamine hits. Without you, I don't need it. Women are different. They have biological clocks. That means there's going to be a certain point at which women are like, well, I'm running out of time. And then you end up with stories like this. I guess I'll put it this way. Why does this story exist? American women are giving up on marriage. Certainly, you could say the same thing about American men. The issue is nobody cares if guys don't get married and do whatever they want. But for women, it's a big deal. Why? Because women have biological clocks. That's not to be sexist, but the feminists get so mad about it. They're like, I'll freeze my eggs. Okay, good luck with that. I mean, that seriously, I don't care. Do whatever you want. But what's going to happen if society keeps down this route? Behavioral sink, no more babies, and no more people. I guess, fortunately for conservatives, they still adhere to, moral tradition to a certain degree. So it'll just be the liberals that cease to exist. I'll leave it there. Stay tuned, my friends. We got more segments for you. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment.